What are some really dumb hobbies, mainly practiced by wealthy individuals? I feel like this question was asked just to get the Titanic sub as a response. Taking a break from women of Reddit, what is the sexiest sex you've ever sexed? To go, people of Reddit, what's your favorite example of rich people dying in a submarine? Females of Reddit, women is bit too literate for the average Askreddit thread. Canned hunts. We can argue the ethics of hunting all day long. On the one hand, you have the cruel barbarism of fox hunting. On the other hand, you had paid permit hunting for big, exotic game, where the permit only allows for specifically designated culls and profit goes directly to conservation. But canned hunting, at least fox hunting and permit hunting require some measure of skill and afford some opportunity for the animal to escape. Canned hunts are often marketed as exotic game ranches, places people go to get a guaranteed kill of a particular species. You know how you get that guaranteed kill? Because the game are fenced in and are often reliant on human care, so they have limited fear of humans compared to their wild roaming counterparts. There's nothing sporting about it. Imagine going to a dairy farm and bragging about how you bagged a big cow. That's what canned hunting sounds like to others. I just watched on Netflix rich Arabs cloning camels by the dozen because that first camel was really pretty. Buying an expensive car and then keeping it in your garage without ever actually driving it. You should watch Mecum auctions sometime. Some guy will die and his collection of never-driven Corvettes will go on sale and fetch barely anything. I saw the most epic A-team type of lifted and mean-looking van, $17,000. I cried that I wasn't there. That is what makes me mad about watching those auctions. Cool shit will go for something I can almost afford. If I were rich, I would destroy the cool but weird market. That's the thing though, rich people have their toys already and don't need to buy someone else's. You're saying if you had $1 billion, you wouldn't already have 5 or 6 epic vehicles. I'd be driving around in a Warthog and an A-team van would look kind of it. Yeah, this type of auction is for upper middle class people who wanna make bad decisions. Jay Leno will set back classic car prospectors 40 years at minimum. I really hope his collection becomes a public museum after he dies. Even though I enjoy the taste, collecting ultra expensive wine and not ever drinking it, technically it can be an investment, but if they never sell it, then it's not really an investment. I don't get collecting things that are meant to be used and then not using them. My Steam library would like a word. My library would like a word. You collect libraries? No, he collects libraries of libraries, you idiot. Even though I enjoy the taste, collecting ultra-expensive wine and not ever drinking it, I think wine tasting is a lot less nuanced than people pretend it to be. It's a great hobby. Personally, I like saying, I detect hints of apricot for the whites and seeing how long I can get the group to agree with me before they figure out in saying it for every white wine. I detect a subtle grape flavor. You can tell it's a Shiraz because of the label. Kind of an oaky afterbirth. Shooting a giraffe like brew, it's just standing there next to the road. Same with elephants, they just stand there facing off to you and you just shoot them. Sounds like a waste of time. I was so much happier before I knew that people paid to kill elephants for fun. I thought the same until I went on safari at a reservation that also organized trophy hunting, paying big money to shoot lions, elephants, giraffes, etc. Not only do these reservations have to cull populations, regardless at times if one species starts to have a too large population and threaten it. The balance of the reserve, it also brings in a lot of money for their conservation work. Shooting an elephant is a permit that costs $10,000 to $20,000 to $20,000. This is outside of the lodging, food, rental, driver, guide and so on. This enables the reservation to combat poaching, for example, or provide care to orphans of a threatened species. Not only that, but elephants are really destructive. Juvenile males can wreck forests. Their hormones make them go in a rage, and you'll find random rampaged area from a juvenile male. So, yeah, it is sad that people shoot elephants. But it is a fact that they will get shot sometimes anyway, and that this weird hobby is really the financial survival of these reservations that do so much ecological conservation work. It gives occupations to many people in often poor countries. Poaching is much worse because it is so uncontrolled. Legal trophy hunting will not take place if there's not too many of the animal. And because it's a guide, a reputable reservation will not let the customer shoot a female of breeding age, for example. My guide told me that it is terrible to have to shoot a quota or gazelle when there's not enough trophy hunting going on. It's really demoralizing for the staff, and it's so wasteful because they cannot consume the animals. With trophy hunting, the animal is processed. The reservation I visited in Zimbabwe used the meat to feed their guests, staff, and village close by. The closest supermarket was a 6-hour drive, so that really changed my perspective on trophy hunting. Sad but necessary in order to keep healthy, thriving reservations. It's so profitable that they can do so many more beneficial activities, much more profitable than just a generic safari. Edit it. This is by no means an accurate reflection of the entire debate on trophy hunting. I wanted to mention some of the arguments that exist in favor. You color-coded cards highlighted some research on how much of the funds can disappear because of corruption, that it can be detrimental to wildlife populations in a variety of manners, and that actual practice in a reservation service can be wildly different from policy intentions. Please take the time to consider both sides of the debate and how intentions, reality, and ethics are intertwined. It's not a black and white issue. This is one of those rare instances that legitimately changed my perspective on something. While in theory, this is what the permit fees are spent on, in reality, it is believed that a large portion of the permit fees go into the pockets of corrupt government officials. Some conservationists estimate that up to 97% of money trophy hunting brings in is siphoned off by corrupt officials. Additionally, in most, although not all, cases trophy hunting has deleterious impacts on the local population of the animal being hunted. For instance, because larger and more mature elephants are typically preferred by trophy hunters, it has caused the social knowledge necessary for survival to decline as the elder members of the group are killed before passing their knowledge onto the younger generations. McComb et al. 2001. Similarly, in areas where trophy hunting is allowed, lion populations have shown increasing levels of infanticides and population declines which are possibly related to dominant males being replaced through selective hunting. Packer et al. 2009. The main problem with trophy hunting in many instances is that because the relevant local national authorities, which are charged with monitoring and protecting wildlife populations, are rife with corruption, it is next to impossible to accurately predict the impact trophy hunting has on local animal populations. So even if a sustainable trophy hunting permit practice is officially in place, the way the program is carried out in practice may be vastly different than what is outlined in the law. Another problem is that even if the fees from trophy hunts go towards conservation and the local community, the moral logic behind trophy hunts is questionable and perpetuates the idea that killing prized animals is permitted for certain people, predominantly white foreigners, while forbidden for others, local poachers. There hasn't been a lot of research into the socio-economic impact of trophy hunting, but the logic of allowing certain people to kill protected animals based on their ability to pay can severely undermine anti-poaching effort. Collecting the same Rolex in different variations, and never wearing any because it's in a safe. On here, someone related about a very rich guy. Asked why he didn't wear an expensive watch to show how rich he was, he just said, "Why, I am rich." I mean, you shouldn't be buying an expensive watch to show off, but shit like Patek Philippe watches are literal works of art that you can wear, so I do get the appeal. Hey, it's basically just collecting, and the majority of humans collect something that doesn't have any real function besides bringing the collector happiness, which is perfectly valid. So I can't say it's a stupid hobby. I collect debts. Recording yourself giving shit to the poor. I collect debts. Fox hunting. Is it hard? I hear you just need to keep chickens and the foxes come right to your doorstep. They're talking about the fox hunting as practiced by the rich landowning toffs in the UK. They wear pompous red coats and riding gear whilst riding around on horses guiding a pack of dogs who track, chase and kill foxes, usually by ripping them to shreds. Just to add that hunting live foxes is technically illegal in the UK, so a lot of fox hunters move to drag hunting, using the scent of a fox in a stuffed toy. Of course, this still causes massive issues, because live foxes will also follow that scent and the dogs kill the real one. Both types should be banned. As a person that has always kept chickens, I don't like foxes very much, but we still shouldn't set dog on them, so they'll be shredded. Climbing Everest. Just remember, every dead body was once a highly motivated individual. Really, the Sherpas are the goat for frequently scaling Masti. Everest's peak year in and year out, but you hardly ever hear anyone praising them for the feat. Now, if more of those wealthy folk actually did all of the climbing and carrying of their own supplies, plus not taking a guide, Sherpa, with them and actually did make it to the top and then back down, then I'd be impressed. Sherpas are constantly praised. It's just the exceptions, like the dude that thanked his sponsors instead of the Sherpas that rescued him, that give a different impression. I've met 2 people that made the climb, and all they could talk about was how amazing the Sherpas were, and how they could not have done it without them. 12-meter yacht racing, like standing fully clothed in a cold shower and tearing up $100 bills by the million. That's a very short race. Oracle founder and one of richest men in the world, Larry Ellison sponsors just about the biggest sail racing. It's a hobby, yes. More importantly, his hobby is also a business that advertises Oracle, spends millions on it, all captured as business losses. He also is generous enough not to take a salary for most of his career. Of course, salaries can be taxed. His compensation comes from Oracle stock options. He then borrows against those options at a great rate, and is the biggest single borrower in the nation as of a few years ago. That's how he gets his cash to live on. Again, none of that is income, so he doesn't pay taxes. As one of the richest people in the world, for those with questions or tips, you review Forbes. Comsides Johnny are 20,211,111 how America's richest people, Larry Ellison, Lusko, people, Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, consensus billions without selling their stock. She 57065.turn 34 thanks to Captain Cosmodrome for the name so that I could look it up. Sherpas are constantly praised. It's just the exceptions, like the dude that thanked his sponsors instead of the Sherpas that rescued him, that give a different impression. I've met 2 people that made the climb, and all they could talk about was how amazing the Sherpas were and how they could not have done it without them. Child sex trafficking. Let's not forget Jeffrey Epstein. That's so sad we can call this a hobby. But yeah, I guess for them it was. Larry is also an enormous boss who has several times bought companies solely to put them under and to spite the former owners. Notably, Sun Microsystems, who invented Java. Oracle Hostile took it over, and it was all free before, and made it pay, only. Now Java today has a bustling free OpenJuke that is the default over the paid garbage Oracle has. A real garbage patch of a person. Challenging other wealthy individuals to cage match Emma fights. Buying solid gold toilets and other items. Paying to go see the Titanic. Let's be honest, that's why this question was really asked. Paying to go emulate the Titanic. Paying to Titanic. Paying to become part of Titanic. Paying to be the Titanic. Paying. I knew this would float to the top rather than to the seabed. Breeding and showing dogs, especially the tiny ones with the fucked up noses and tiny heads where their brains don't even fit anymore. Making $1 bets with other rich people that disrupts and ruins normal people's lives. Social experiments and such. Basically using regular people as playthings. I live in Germany. A guy in my neighborhood hit the lottery. First thing he did was to fly to Russia and go bear hunting. I can't understand why it's someone's dream to kill beautiful animals. Almost like the movie Ghost Dog. Who knows, maybe he will end up killing a half-naked president riding on top while he's at it. Seems promising. Being cheap. One of my friends has the money to buy the restaurants we eat at, but if we split an item, she'll fraction out how much she puts towards it. I only ate 1 slice of pizza, and there are 6 in total, so I'll put down 60. She also factors this into tipping. Drives me mental. Rich people don't get rich by giving away their money to us peasants. Learned this the hard way recently. I'm a lawyer whose services got engaged by a couple who literally begged that I take their case at floor cost. Fast forward to the day I realized they were very, very rich, Maybach rich, and yet very, very, very cheap fucks who act like getting billed $20 for an hour-long consultation phone call that they agreed to pay for was equivalent to me robbing them blind. Infuriating. They're also the most demanding and neurotic clients I've ever encountered. Where I come from, The minimum wage is $10 per day, so even when I charged them $20 for an hour, that was still way more money than the average person makes in my country. But yeah, that was a one-time thing. My usual rate is $70 sure. Talking down on poor people with things like stop buying coffee and you'll be rich one day. Rich Christian people traveling to impoverished countries and calling it a mission. Someone once told me that Jerry Seinfeld owns a massive garage in which he stores one model of every single Porsche car ever made by Porsche.
Mike, why?
I understand collecting some cars if you're wealthy. That's a cool hobby, but every Porsche ever made. Like, what does he do with all these cars? Pour himself a drink and just look at them. You know damn well he's not driving all of them. I knew a couple that did this with the intention of converting Indian villagers to Christianity. By the end of the trip, they were instead converted to Buddhism and even adopted an orphan from the village who wanted to teach them more about the religion. Dressage. Paying to ride in a carbon fiber suicide tube. I know quite a few cava divers, and none of them are extremely wealthy. It's not an inherently expensive hobby, and is mostly dependent on developing relationships with caving groups and property owners, with caves on their property owners, with caves on their property. I used to work at a very pricey private school, and one of the big donors took it upon himself to make these big-ass sculptures of extinct birds from around the world, and then he would make a big deal of installing these things in the last place the bird was seen, even if it was in the middle of the scene, even if it was in the middle of the jungle. And he paid people to follow him around and make a documentary about it. The sculptures weren't even good, but can you imagine disrupting an ecosystem to put your piece of crap homage to an extinct animal in it? How does that even make sense? The school had to kiss his ass to keep the money flowing and allowed him to install one of his sculptures on the school grounds. Then they made all the middle schoolers spend an afternoon watching his vanity. Oops. I mean documentary, and making carrier pigeons out of paper cutouts. It was a big joke.